So, this is the second in this series, and as I said in the very first video I made, our main focus here is to get your economy up to snuff, because all of the other information that I can give you is just going to be a distraction when your economy isn't perfect. The most important thing is to have constant worker production off of your command center. And then a new command center quick enough, and then another command center quick enough after that, and so on and so forth. Because if you don't have enough money to spend, it doesn't matter really what you spend it on. There are other important things, especially in TVT, like composition and positioning, and like how to deal with tanks that are sieged in a place you don't want them to be sieged, and all that kind of stuff. But if you spend too much time worrying about that, you're not going to hit the economic benchmarks that you really want to hit. So in this game, you're doing a lot better than the first game I just watched on this. You're really keeping workers queued up this whole time. Right there, they slipped for a second. For another second, for another second. And it looks like when you were fighting this battle over here, you missed out on workers, and that's exactly what happened in the last game. As soon as you threw some army at him, you completely forgot about workers. And then as soon as you were done throwing army at him, you said, "Okay, now I got to come back to my base and queue up workers," and you queue up one. It's like you're saying I gotta remember workers, and then you just hit the S button once. But the I gotta oh shoot, I forgot workers, I gotta remember is hit the S button 6 times, eight times. Like really make sure that you remember right now. So anyway, benchmarks are at 6 minutes. You want 24. We got 24, perfect. See, in the beginning of the game, before any battles happen, you were doing perfect with this. So 8 minutes, you want 30 or 29. That's perfect, exactly 29. That's just what you wanted. Then 10 minutes, you want 44. And you had 37, and that's great. I mean, at about 9 minutes, you cut workers. So this is only 37 instead of 44, but that's amazingly higher than your opponent and than you were doing in previous games. Like having a $1,600 income at 10 minutes is a big difference between the previous games where you would have a $900 income at that same time. Like you have almost 50% more money, probably even more. Especially once you get up to 44 workers instead of 37. So um, now I'm sure from now on, as soon as you get scared, at least the MO from the previous games, as soon as you get scared, you're going to start cutting economy and just not doing a very good job of keeping up on workers. So let's fast forward, not really paying attention to the battles too much, um, and just watch down here. See, there's nothing happening in your command centers. And you don't have supply depots, so you can't build workers for a long time. And now you've finally freed up some supply, but you had to float your command center, and having more workers wouldn't really be helpful because you only have one base and all that kind of stuff. So you're going sometimes to lose because you're focusing on economy, but it's much more important to lose some games and focus on economy and get really good at that than it is to worry about this other stuff too quickly. Because once you get a really great economy and practice doing it like enough times, maybe 50 or 60 games of having a perfect economy every time, spending that money, it'll be second nature to you. You won't like you have thousands of dollars in the bank because you're not used to having this much money, right? So I just want to take a look at the battles now that we've already gone over economically, that you did really well in the beginning and then it kind of fell apart once you got scared. So it looks like 3 racks factory for your opponent as well, double factory. So the cool thing is that your opponents keep doing these ridiculous builds. Like the maximum income you can get on one base is 900, 200. He's got almost max income right now. And factory making tanks, if you look, a tank takes 45 seconds and costs 125 gas. So that means it's like 160 gas per minute. So you can't really support 2 factories of tanks off of 224 gas, right? And this building, this building, and this building, if they make Marauders constantly, each of them spends 250 minerals, or minerals and gas combined, per minute. So that's 750 bucks right there. If you add in the cost of supply depots, he can't afford to use these 3 buildings and this building, let alone this one. So really, he's got too many buildings, and that's good, because it just means his army is going to be significantly smaller than a better, more efficient player would be. So if you look right now, he's only got 2,000 bucks spent on his army, and that includes 200 bucks for siege mode. So 2,200. He's got a very small army for 10 minutes. 3,500 is the average, and 4,000 is the biggest you can possibly have. So he's half the size of the biggest army he can possibly have. And over here, obviously, you're doing even worse. You've got an 1550, so just tiny, tiny, tiny army, and that's because basically you just made 2 racks and no other buildings. Obviously, this is 125 bucks a minute. This is 125 bucks a minute. So you have 250 bucks a minute worth of potential army size, and your income is 1,560. So a racks with an add-on is 250. So with $1,600 of income, a factory with an add-on or a racks with an add-on, those are both 250. So in order to spend 1,500 bucks, you'd need 6 buildings, right? Because if each one's 250, then 2 of them is 500, and 3 groups of 2 to make 1,500 is 6 buildings. So right now you want to have 6 buildings. You only have 2, and you're working on 4. But even what you're working towards, 4 buildings, that's not nearly enough. You need at least 6. So naked racks without add-ons, you would need 12 buildings. But I don't condone naked racks. You want add-ons. Add-ons are good. So these tanks came and killed you, and that's the end of the game. So what you got to remember, timing-wise, right? In order to get used to spending this much money, you just got to say, off my first command center, I want 2 racks, and then I want a second command center, and then I want to put add-ons on those 2 racks, so I have essentially 4 buildings, right? Or 2 full buildings, 500 bucks of income. And then before my second command center finishes, I want to throw down 2 more buildings. And then before it's fully saturated, I want to throw down 2 more buildings. And then I want to start my third, and then I want to throw down 2 more buildings, and so on and so forth. So each fully saturated base can support 3 buildings, 4 if you're fighting constantly and not having to build supply depots. So just basically, you want to have 3 buildings with add-ons for each command center. And that is all. So you just didn't have enough buildings to spend your money. But that's great, though. You pulled a lot of money out of the ground. You pulled a lot more money than him out of the ground. You just didn't spend it on units. So that's fine, That's a mistake I would much rather see you make than not having enough money. So in the future in TVT, you want to get your first tank with siege mode out by like 7 minutes. So go Rax Factory or Rax Factory Starport or Rax Factory or something like that. Just get your factory up. In order to have the first tank out by like 7 minutes, you'd want to start building the factory by like 5.5 minutes or something. Anyway, the rest of this game is probably pointless, so I'm not gonna watch it. And that's not because I don't want, that's because economy is the only thing we're really paying attention to now. I don't want to get too distracted looking at the other stuff. So wait, let's see. This is me. This is you. This is you. This is the next one. Command Center something rush.